Greetings, and welcome to what might be the first of a couple of Danganronpa videos, as recently I finished V3, and I've been wanting to talk about the series and the game itself and how it's impacted the series. So as a quick disclaimer, this is just going to be a pretty decently long video of me rambling on about my personal experiences and thoughts with the game. So if that's something you're not interested in, you can go ahead and click off. And of course, there will be spoilers for everything Danganronpa related potentially. So if you don't want to be spoiled, then you should already be clicked off the video. And without any further ado, let's get right into it. Now, attempting to analyze and understand the ending of V3 after the initial playthrough was nearly impossible for me, as the game presented a lot of new information and sometimes outright contradictory plot points. My first interpretation of the ending was that they needed to do that. They needed to do something that would upstage the ending of the past two games in their own respective ridiculousness. There wasn't much more that they could do from the entire world is destroyed. The characters in the game are the last couple of survivors, and then basically flipping all of that, the blame for those actions onto the characters of the second game. After those two endings, there really wasn't anything else they could do to be more drastic than that, and especially after the anime, which takes place in a post-apocalyptic somewhat world where everything is basically already destroyed. So assuming that the world isn't rebuilt completely and then something else drastic could happen to bring it back to that state, which in itself wouldn't even necessarily be that good of a plot point, this is all they could do. Break the fourth wall, break it all the way down, reach out, and call out the people that are watching the show. That's how I originally interpreted the ending. I thought that, alright, they're calling us out. Their game is complete fiction, they're acknowledging that it's fiction, and they're acknowledging that us in the real world are sick for liking that sort of entertainment, watching the characters kill each other. But then, as time went on, I started to realize that that's not actually what the ending was, as the ending doesn't really break any fourth wall at all. And I'm also hesitant to call the ending a twist, as it's not really a plot twist. There's no new information presented to us, basically. Danganronpa is a piece of fiction. We understand that. And that doesn't change. All it does is, within the Danganronpa fictional universe, it acknowledges that its Danganronpa story, including, the original trilogy with Hope's Peak Academy, is false and fake, and that doesn't actually exist. That's a story created by somebody, just like it's a story created by somebody in our world. However, the Danganronpa universe has continuity in that the V3 characters and in the V3 universe, they exist in their own. They do not know that they are a piece of fiction. That is their canon world. And within their canon world, there exists the canon of the story of Danganronpa 1 and 2 and 3. As if that wasn't already confusing enough to understand, then the interpretations can become that they are basically saying or relating us to those people that are in the Danganronpa V3 universe watching the show. Basically, there's no difference between the two of us, between our world and the world that they live in, and the decisions that are being made by, the audience that are essentially controlling Kibo and influencing Kibo. We want to continue to see the characters prevail, go through Hope, so that there can be more Danganronpa installments because we enjoy the entertainment. So to take the ending as an insult to the player is a completely valid response, I think. I don't think there's any issue with you taking it as the game is calling you a sadist, or the game is saying that you're horrible for wanting this, or that the game is attacking you with the characters by them rebelling against your decision to be playing and watching the game.
Now that's quite interesting and all, but it gives you a lot of information to think about, all just in the last chapter of the game. In the last couple of thoughts you'll have about the game, you'll be pondering whether you accept its message as something positive, something negative, or something that you consider a good ending at all. That's where my main issue spawns from the ending of Danganronpa V3. Once you get to that point, all the actions made by the characters in the game are basically dubbed irrelevant. Not only is the fictional story of Danganronpa completely irrelevant to their lives, because as Shirogane would have them believe, they're basically just copies of, her perfect image of Junko's killing game. Not only that, but all the characters like Rantaro and Kokichi and all of their efforts and everything they've done, it doesn't matter. The way you felt when Gonta died, or the way that certain characters made you think, oh, this person is terrible, this person is great, this person is doing something good for the story, none of that really matters. You do get your 3 survivors at the end of the game, which can mean something to you or not, but ultimately it basically devalues the 32 hours that you just put into the game. Everyone will obviously have different reasons for why they personally enjoy Danganronpa or even go to the store to pick it up, but I know for me, from my experience, it's definitely for the characters, and it's not necessarily for the big plot twist at the end of the game. I am interested in the character interactions, which I thought were pretty good throughout the course of Danganronpa V3. I thought there was some pretty interesting stuff going on, especially with the twist of the protagonist, which somehow I actually didn't see coming. I know that some people were actually bothered by the way that the ending of the second game, had no consequence on the series because all those characters were brought back by, Hajime Urizu in the third anime. And this is kind of taking that direction with the story to a new extreme, whereas you could have just watched the 30-minute ending of Danganronpa. It's definitely not 30 minutes, definitely longer than that, but you could have just watched that and gotten the message of the game, and everything else was somewhat kind of pointless because those actions didn't matter, basically. And I think that for that reason, the ending is a risk, as I would expect from Danganronpa, obviously, and it's something new that it brings to the table, sort of, but for me, it just takes away too much from what I would want the game to be about. Would I prefer an ending where it's all about what the characters can do and what they can make of their situation? Yes, because I don't consider them putting an end to the game, because that part is really all kind of trivial. They just, basically say that they're not okay with the things that are going on, put an end to Shirogane through stopping Kibo, yada yada, gameplay has to exist. But I would prefer something like, even if the game just ended with Kokichi's plan to stump Monokuma, that to me is much more interesting. It's not that the ending wasn't interesting, but what I would want and desire, and I think most people, which is why it got a negative reaction, most people would want and desire the sort of ending that focused more on the characters and the story of Danganronpa, not exposing the lies of Danganronpa, which perfectly brings me to my next point. The last thing I wanted to end this video with. If there is a grain of salt to take with all of this, it is that one of the central themes in Danganronpa V3 is lying, especially through Kokichi, but it's always there, it's very relevant. I feel like all three games have their own kind of little theme going on in the background of the game, and I feel like with this one it was kind of truths and lies, and it really could all be a lie, because the only evidence that we have is through Shirogane and her Cosbox, whatever. I'm not going to get into that because that just sounds like a bunch of baloney to me, but Cosbox, Shirogane, she basically just told us all this information, and we believe it, and we may not have to believe it. It may not be intended for us to, follow that information as if it was absolute truth. It could totally be a lie, and I don't know, I just thought that was worth saying, because it may turn out, when the next Danganronpa game or anime or whatever comes out, we may be pleasantly surprised. Or maybe some people were satisfied with the ending, and if you were, that's totally fine, good for you. So I think that pretty much sums up what I have to say. So this is the first video that I've done for this channel, and I wanted to make it kind of short, just kind of giving my general opinions, because I know I am a bit late to the party on this one. V3 has been out since September, I'm pretty sure, so, it's been a couple of months. But yeah, I just wanted to share some of this information and express how I interpreted the ending. If you interpreted the ending differently, let me know how you did that. I'm super interested in hearing that. And I'm definitely open to talking about it again in the future, so if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.